I want to look at cybersecurity in the very near future. And what I can make out, the near future looks something like this. The average person will have about 10 computers, everything from mobile devices, wearables, internet-connected refrigerators, self-driving cars. In fact, 10 might be an underestimate. Could be a lot more than that. To generate increasingly large volumes of data, and this data will be synchronized between all the devices and cloud services. Okay. So you can imagine it's going to explode. And what I want to argue is that we're not going to be able to cope with security in the future just by following our traditional modern-day security practices. Okay, my slide's not displaying properly, but those are the main points, I think. Yeah, so our current security practices will not scale up for this large proliferation of internet-connected devices. And to me, there are the 4 reasons for that. One, is that many advanced attacks are much more targeted these days, and they're very difficult to detect. So our preventative controls that pick up known malicious signatures, they're okay, we still need them, but they're not going to capture everything. Anyone dealing with large or even medium-sized corporate networks are probably suffering from vulnerability overload and patching fatigue. You know, I'd say it's impossible to try and eliminate all vulnerabilities nowadays on networks. You know, vulnerability scanning, penetration testing is getting better and better, which is great, but as soon as you patch something, next day more vulnerabilities appear. So you try and be smart about it. You try and target the high-risk vulnerabilities, high-severity ones, then you find that an attack comes along that combines 2 or 3 low-risk vulnerabilities to create a much more serious attack. So relying on patching and fixing vulnerabilities, we need to do it, but it's not enough, and we can't really cope with that going on. A lot of what we talk about, a lot of what we focus on today is confidentiality, okay? Protecting our secrets and our personal information, okay? With Internet of Things and all these devices, we need to start looking at integrity and availability a lot more. And of course, as we just heard in previous speakers, increased legal liability and regulatory burdens coming along. Okay, so I want to expand on those points a little bit. One of my favourite security publications is the Verizon Data Breach Investigations Report. I keep a copy on my bedside table. It's a really useful reference. And one thing they talk about there, and they have done for the last few years, is something called the detection deficit. It goes something like this. It takes a good threat actor, good hacker, a few minutes to breach your system. Get in there, do the damage, and come out again. Maybe they've been there all the time, but to actually do the breach, it might take a few minutes. But companies, it could take them days, weeks, months to realize that they've been breached. As I said before, one of the reasons for that is that it's not an obvious malicious hacking attempt. Many breaches are achieved through the use of legitimate credentials. Okay? A targeted attack or advanced persistent threat may be achieved by using a combination of attack methods, such as social engineering, to find out about the company's network, the IT architecture, find out, befriend people within the company. They may create some bespoke malware. They would know what antivirus and what safeguards you have in place, so they work their way around them. And they work their way in like that. If they've got a motivation to get in there, they'll target and they'll probably get in. So detection deficit is one of the problems we're dealing with today. And the whole theme here is that we're sort of falling behind just by using normal security practices. New technologies come out, new working practices come out, but the attackers seem to be one step ahead. They're much more agile than we are, I believe. So let's look at this a little bit more. The internet-connected refrigerator. It could be any object. Now these things, they're computers. Okay, we take everyday objects. They've got a processor, they've got memory, they run an operating system, and they run software. They're connected to the internet, so it's an entry point into your network, and it's exploitable. Okay, so we're going to have lots of these things floating around just now. Okay, I'm sure there's some uses of this, but when I see this advertised at £4,000 or more, I don't so much think about the benefits. I think about, well, I'll buy a pint of milk from the corner shop, and I can't be bothered patching it once a month, so I won't bother. But let's look at another situation. So imagine this scenario. An individual, perhaps an elderly individual with a chronic medical condition, is housebound. Maybe it's a heart condition, maybe it's diabetes, a combination of things. But he's got wearable devices, maybe an implant, that are monitoring medical indicators, things like blood temperature, pulse rate, blood pressure, all those critical indicators. Okay? It's continuous monitoring, and they're able to detect abnormalities in that condition. Then he can connect to a clinic or a hospital or some healthcare provider who can look at that data, make a diagnosis, and maybe just through Skype or conference call, have a consultation and make a lot of ground towards a prescription. Okay? So you've got three things there. You've got immediate identification of abnormalities, you've got remote monitoring of the medical condition, and you've got easy and fast access to healthcare. So those benefits are transformational. They really are. The technology is there now. So the reason we're not doing that is not because of technology. We can achieve that. It's many other things. It's working practices, it's processes, it's regulations, it's all culture and people changing factors. But hopefully we'll get there. But think about it from a security and a privacy perspective. Suddenly, our personal medical information is littered all over the place. It's in a cloud server somewhere, it's in a clinic somewhere, it's in a hospital. And you think, how many people have got access to that data? You know, it's very interesting, the previous speaker gave the example of a doctor mixing up two individuals' medical reports. So the scope for simple errors is much, much greater. What is it? In our organisation, we have a lot of controls and safeguards and processes around privileged users. These are the system administrators who've got access to databases and systems. We control that quite tightly. But in this situation, we've no idea how many people, privileged users or normal users, have got access to our data. So it's a challenge. It's a situation where the benefits are massive. Security challenge is equally massive. So we, as security professionals, need to tackle it. So most of you are probably familiar with this. You may use a different image, the security, CIA, Triad, confidentiality, availability, and integrity. Okay? As I mentioned at the start, we put an awful lot of focus on confidentiality because today's computer systems, they process data, and what we want to protect is our privacy and our secrets. So that's what we really focus in on. And then that's what data privacy focuses in on. But in the world of Internet of Things, we have objects that have got sensors that are taking continuous, unpredictable input and responding to that. They've got actuators which actually control, it could be machinery on a production line or other process controls. It could be the self-driving car. Okay. Many of you you've probably heard the famous hacking story of the Jeep, the Cherokee, where I think the research hackers, they got into the entertainment system. They got through the cellular network. From there, they got into the transmission system, and they're able to take over control of the vehicle. Okay. Yep. So that's the sort of security challenge we're facing in the future. Okay. So it's not just confidentiality. In fact, when you think about the integrity of our data and what the impact could be of these things going wrong, you can argue it's much more catastrophic. I have a couple of quotes there from Bruce Schneier. He recently wrote an essay, fantastic, very well written. I recommend you look it up. So how do we evolve our capabilities? I'm arguing that we can't cope. We need to go this far, but currently what we're doing just now, we can't cope. And the answer is we need to take some risks. We need to accept risks. We'll actually be doing that now. What I mean is we need to consciously accept risks, start making better informed risk acceptance decisions, because we cannot protect everything to the same level, and we shouldn't. So day to day, I work in information risk management. And on some level, it's a fairly simple discipline. You balance the benefits of new technology against the consequences of something going wrong. Got a very, very simple matrix here. So if you take the internet-connected fridge, I mean, that's quite cute, but to me personally, it wouldn't give me many sort of benefits. I don't see it. So that's in the bottom left, assuming it's segregated from my important things. Okay, so I can accept risks there. I don't mind if the temperature's altered. Get around it. Sorry, what does the red card mean? I haven't finished.
Okay.
No. Can I get 1 minute? 1 minute. Okay. Very, very quickly. You get the gist here. For all your assets, all your systems, all your things, you work out what's the worst that can happen. If you've got large benefit, but the impact could be catastrophic, then you have to think of controls. You have to protect that against the most likely threats. Other stuff. Start thinking along these lines about making risk acceptance decisions. The health regulator, the FDA, recently brought out some guidance along these lines. They're recognising the need for security in medical devices. Again, that's online if you want to read it. And so, just to conclude, the proliferation of these internet devices is happening. We can't stop it. Okay, we've got to enable it. We can enable it by making risk acceptance decisions, which basically means you look at the items that have high benefit, high impact, high consequence if they go wrong, and protect them against the most likely threats. Risk accept the rest. Thank you.